Alright, hello there. This is a different kind of video than I normally do, but it's about something that I've been working on for the past month. So, on February 23rd, I started working on a board game, and I'm making this video mostly to, number one, keep myself updated and know where I am in this process, and so that later on I can look back and I can say, hey, I was doing this when I started making this game, and maybe if I make a future game I can build off of this, and I'm going to be talking about things that I've liked during this process and things that I haven't liked during this process. And another thing, I am wanting to show this off to people that are in both the board game community and the Magnus Archives community, so that I can make this game the best that I can. It's more just like a game that I'm making for fun than for anything else, and I've been enjoying it a lot. It's a very complicated game, more so than like a like a lot of Uno, or it's not a simple game, which makes the progress that I've made on it feel like more to me, because I don't think that if I was doing a more simple game, I might not be having as much fun with it as I am. So I want to show off the map. I want to show off the character. Oh, I'll talk about what the game is. So this game, it's based around the Magnus Archives, a audio horror podcast. I don't know what the word is, but it's based off of the Magnus Archives fears, and also somewhat on the rituals of the Magnus Archives. And essentially the goal of this game, you as the player are going to be playing as a avatar of the different entities. So there are 14 entities in total, but there are only 13 playable entities, because I decided to choose for the end to be a more mechanical entity, and I'll explain that more a little bit later. But I have made the character boards of all of the fears except for the hunt and the web, because they are going to be a little bit different. All of the other ones have rituals. The hunt and the end do not currently, and I don't think I'm going to give them rituals. I think the hunt is going to work more off of points, and I'll figure out how to do the point system. I have it a little bit done, but I'm not complete with that. And then I have made a map. It's a I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. I'll just show section by section. It's not like the greatest map of all time. I don't know if you can even see it, but I have it sectioned off into 10 sections, and then there are islands around the maps that are for specific rituals, and I will talk about that more when I'm looking at the boards. The first thing that I did when I wanted to start this game, I got a notebook, and I wrote down my ideas in this notebook, just whatever came to my mind at the time. And I haven't filled up all of it, but I have it sectioned out. So if the first thing that I wrote down was, I wrote down all the entities and their rituals, and the names of the rituals on the Magnus Archives wiki. But then some of them didn't have named rituals, so I had to name the ritual myself. And so I had to name the corruptions ritual, which I named the crawling rot. Then another section, rule ideas. That one's pretty self-explanatory. I wrote down ideas that I think would be good for the game. Card ideas. I've also made quite a few cards. They're not all finished, and they're not even almost finished. I have other ideas, just like random miscellaneous stuff. I have a few pages of that. I have game worries, which I have 2 things on there, and it was the end and the hunt. I figured out the end. I still need to figure out the hunt, but I have a more clear idea on that. And I think writing down my ideas on paper really helped me like look through and say, oh, yeah, I think that's good. I think that's bad. And another thing, I'm using Papermate pencils because I think they are awesome because they don't break when I write them. When I write with them, and their erasers are delicious. Delicious. They're good erasers. Lovely. Core components, individual things. You guys can't read this stuff, but if you have questions about ritual ideas, about things that I wrote or things in the game, just put them in the comments and I will respond. And yeah, if you have questions or if you're like just curious in general, I'm happy to answer questions. I've just been having fun with this, and I just wanted to share it, I suppose, and keep a record for myself. So I guess I'm going to start out with the map. I already sort of showed you it. It's sectioned off into 10 sections, and how the game, once you've chosen your entity that you're going to be an avatar of, then you will roll the dice, a d10, and that will tell you where you place. Oh, I also have pieces. Where you place the avatar and one of your fear tokens. So, one of the big things in this, a way that you're going to get points and a way you're going to have to complete rituals is through fear. And fear is going to be, I haven't figured it out yet, but on each of the boards, I don't know if this is going to be flipped or whatever, but there's a fear section, and I'm going to have to figure out how many fear is going to be required to complete a ritual, but I'll figure that out later, and possibly when I'm playtesting. But in order to start playtesting, I need to complete at least 2 of the decks, at least 1 of the decks. But so the first ritual entity board that I made, or that I have in this stack, is the Stranger. And the Stranger, it has 3 things that are required. So, oops, okay, sorry. So it has the location, the choir, and the corpse du ballet. And so, also in this corner, sorry about this, there are the marks. So in order to successfully complete a ritual, you have to have all 13 of the other marks obtained, which can be obtained both by cards in your deck and by interactions with the other entities that you are playing with. So this one, the thing that I wrote for the ritual, I said once a location is placed, which I think I'm going to make a piece, and for the Stranger, I think this location can be put almost anywhere on the map. You just need to have the card for the location. I think I'll figure out how that works, but anyways, you're gonna bring a certain amount of avatars and a certain amount of choir to the location, and that will start your ritual. And then throughout the next few turns, your choir will be used, and then if the choir is all successfully used, and avatars will be sacrificed, then that will allow you to successfully complete your ritual. The Stranger I still need to think out a little bit more because it was one of the first ones that I created, and yeah. Anyways, the Desolation. This is the Desolations board. And its necessary, or its requirement cards is the Torturing Flame, and then it needs a certain amount of cultists on the board, and it needs a certain amount of avatars on the board. And I wrote, this ritual is truly started when the cultists and avatars are in different places in the map, and the Torturing Flame is activated. On turn 1, you place / activate the Torturing Flame. On turn 2, you sacrifice one follower at each location. So, I don't know how many locations there will be, but that's something that I need to figure out still. And then it says on turn 2, sacrifice one follower at each location. And then on turn 3, attempt to sacrifice your player avatar. If successful, your ritual is complete. So this makes it so that people can combat your or interrupt your ritual if you aren't like careful enough, or if you aren't prepared enough. That's another thing, but yeah. And marks are on every single board. I've also created icons for each of the fears, for their marks and also for their boards. This is the eyes, and the eye will place libraries around the map, libraries or archives around the map throughout the game, and then it needs to collect the Panopticon card and the Watcher's Eyes. And once it has those, the Panopticon has to be placed to a library, and then the ritual is completed there. But the eye works on a system called Knowledge, which I'm not sure how to work on that, but I know that throughout the game, knowledge will be collected in one way or another. It also needs fear, but it needs knowledge because the knowledge will be consumed throughout the 3 turns that this ritual takes. The Vast is one that I don't have too much idea on how it actually is going to work. But what I want it to be, so there's going to be rocket cards, and there's going to be fear batteries that the Vast can create, and essentially in order for the ritual to be completed for the Vast, the rockets, the fear batteries need to be sent off in rockets, and there needs to be 3 in the air, 3 in space at a time, and what I have here is that they expire 4 rounds after they're placed, which I'll figure out how that works as well. But these are just first drafts. I'm probably gonna say this is for now a few more times, just cause yeah. But for this one, I wrote the ritual starts once your first fear rocket has been launched. A fear battery has to be present at launch site in order to launch. In all 3 launches, a fear battery must be present, but on the 3rd launch, the player avatar must be present. The turn after the 3rd launch succeeds, the ritual succeeds. So, sending your player avatar is essentially sacrificing your player avatar, and if your player avatar is sacrificed in your ritual, then you succeed at your thing. I think that's the same with the Desolation. Oh, I don't know. But it was, or maybe, I don't know. Anyways, the Buried has only one required item, and that required item is the coffin. And the coffin, once it's acquired, the player will sacrifice Furies and followers and avatars into the coffin, and it will slowly fill up throughout the game. And once the coffin and the Fury requirements are fulfilled, the final stage begins. And then in that stage, four avatars will bury themselves in 4 different areas around the map, and then and that will sacrifice those avatars, and then the player avatar or the player avatar or your character avatar will go to a different area and sacrifice themselves by going into the coffin. And once that happens, the ritual is completed successfully. The dark has, I haven't updated it, but it has 3 different location cards, and then it needs the dark star, and it needs a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses last 3 turns, and it's as soon as a solar eclipse card is pulled, it has to be played. But there are multiple ways to bring on a solar eclipse, just so that it's not too hard for the dark to try its ritual. So for this one I wrote, once a location is placed, bring a blank amount of avatars and some amount of followers to the location. On turn 1 of the solar eclipse, sacrifice 1 avatar. On turn 2, sacrifice 1/3 of your followers, and on turn 3, sacrifice 1/2 of your followers. If successful, your ritual, or if your ritual is successful, you win. And so, this one, all of the rituals are different in different ways, which makes it kind of fun. If you've ever played Root, it is somewhat like Root, and yeah, that's kind of where I got like the inspiration to create like different win conditions, if that makes sense. The spiral has only 2 required things, but only really 1 required card, because this card, the way that the spiral will work is that at the beginning of the game, you will shuffle your location cards for the spiral. Here, I'll actually show them. I think they're at the back. Yeah, they're right here. So these ones say spiral. Oh my gosh, spiral location, and they have real phantom islands, which are just places that were thought to exist, but they were supposed islands that don't actually exist. And so I think there's 7 or 8 of them. Yeah, there's 8 locations. So at the beginning of the game, you'll shuffle these, and you'll put 1 location card face down. And then that location card will not be shown until your Fury requirement is met. Once the Fury requirement is met, it gets flipped over. And for this one, I pulled Sandy Island. And so on the map, there is Sandy Island, and this tells you sort of where it is. So I put that it was to the right of Australia. And all the shapes of the islands are a little bit different, which helps distinguish them. But also you need the fractal pot. And then I wrote, once the fear level is sufficient and the fractal pot is in your possession, you may start the ritual. To start the ritual, you must bring the fractal pot and at least 4 avatars and the player avatar to the location. Once everything is brought, on turn 1, sacrifice 2 avatars into the fractal pot. On turn 2, sacrifice 2 more, and on turn 3, sacrifice the player avatar. If successful, the ritual is complete. This one was one of my favorite ones to make. Not my favorite, but it was a very fun one to make. I will show you guys my favorite in just a few. My favorite was the flesh, because it was one that I almost fully had to create myself, and I like how I went about it. Yeah, so the next one is the corruption, and this one I actually had a very hard time with, but I decided on there being 3 sicknesses. Okay. So there's a plague, a hive-like sickness, and a fungal sickness. So for this, you will collect the plague infected scalpel, and that will be on your player avatar. Your player avatar will spread the plague. Then these 2 are actually avatar cards, which are for these specific avatars. So one is for the sporing shroom, which is just like a mushroom spreading, a fungal spreading avatar, and the hive, which is a hive spreading avatar. And so these 3, you will want to spread these sicknesses across the map. And if they're, what I wrote is corruption can be spread before the ritual officially starts. The ritual starts when the plague-infected scalpel, the sporing shroom, and the hive are acquired. So you have to have all 3 in order to start the ritual. To start the ritual's final stage, you must have all 3 of the corruptions in a blank amount of areas. I'm not sure about that yet, but I'll figure that out. Once corruption of areas is complete, bring the player avatar and the sporing shroom and the hive to one area that is dominant. And on turn 1, absorb the sporing shroom, and on turn 2, absorb the hive, and then on turn 3, you release the corruption upon the world by sacrificing the player avatar with the plague-infected scalpel. And so that one is very different as well, but I really enjoy how I put it. And I'm gonna, with all of these, if you have any suggestions, please do put them in the comments, or just let me know, and I will keep them in mind, because I want to make this as balanced and as fun of a game as I can, because I think it would be very fun. This one, the Slaughter. The Slaughters works quite a bit differently, because it works by means of war. So each of the ovals is a war. And so before the Risen War gets to start, there has to be 5 individual wars happen before that. But then, in order to complete your ritual, you have to have the crescendo card and 3 wars happening at the same time. I don't know how long wars will last. Maybe 2 or 3 rounds. I'm not exactly sure. But that's something that I want to figure out. So what I wrote is 5 wars must break out before the Risen War can start. Once the Risen War has started, you must get 3 wars to happen at the same time. Once 3 wars are happening at the same time, to finish the ritual, you must place the crescendo card. If successfully played, ritual was successful. And then I wrote wars last blank amount of turns, because I'm not sure about that yet. For the flesh, this is one that I think this is the one that I'm the happiest with. So this one is completely different, and it's going to be very fun. I wrote the Flesh's ritual is a 5-stage ritual, and the stages are hole, pit, gorge, chasm, and then fleshy abyss. Each stage requires a certain number of sacrifices to proceed to the following stage. And this the flesh pit is going to be a piece on the map that will grow in size each stage, until it basically consumes a area. When a new stage is reached, replace current pit piece on the board. And then in the Abyss stage, the player avatar must be the final the final sacrifice. And then I wrote that Furies are worth 1 sacrifice, followers are worth 2 sacrifices, and then avatars are worth 5 sacrifices. So I think it'll be a very fun. You'll have to balance. Do I want more avatars, or do I want to keep my avatars to create more Furies, or keep my followers to make more followers? And I think it'll be a very interesting. Win condition, and I'm very excited. This one's probably my favorite one that I've made. But yeah, very cool. And then this one, I'm not quite sure how it's going to work. So this one, it has the required card, the Endless Fog, but then it has something called Fear Factories. Now, Fear Factories are something that I wanted to implement in this game already. I wrote it in my notebook, but I wasn't exactly sure how I should do so, because I want Fear Factories to continually give you points every round, so that it gives people the motivation to maybe sacrifice some of their actual fear for points if it's beneficial to them. And then for this one, I said, to start the silence, you must have 4 Fear Factories in one area. Then you may place the Endless Fog. This is the start of the ritual. The ritual must be uninterrupted for 2 more turns to succeed. So this one is somewhat hard, but I think it's hard in the way that it can be interrupted quite easily. However, it's easy in the fact that I think Fear Factories are going to be a little bit easier to get than Fear Batteries and Launch Sites. So that was all the ones I have written down. The web I have just a blank board right now, but the web I plan on it having to win either by points or by helping another fear win. And I'm not sure if that is going to be you put all the cards that are playing in the deck, and then you place or put all of the fears that are going to be playing in the deck, and then play one of those on the board so that only the web can see it, and the web has to help that one out, and if it successfully does, it gets points, or if I don't know exactly how the web is going to work, but that's not one that I have completed yet. And then I also have the hunt, which is going to be almost fully based around getting points, because it doesn't have a ritual, or not a ritual that it can actually complete. But it does have a card which is called Hunting Season, and it's going to do some sort of modifier to points for a certain amount of rounds, which I haven't figured out yet. But yeah, and then in the deck, I have mark cards. Oh no, let me just pull these out separately. Okay, so I have mark cards, which I will need to copy and print around. So this one's a Burn on the Soul, and it's the Desolation mark card. This is I Am Alone, and it's the Lonely mark card. This is You Are Watched, and it's the I mark card. This one is an encounter, with one you do not know, and that's the Stranger mark card. There's A View into Darkness, and that's a Dark mark card. You can also see the icons that I decided to choose. Eventually, I will get better icons, but I'm not an artist, so yeah. A Maze of Doors, and that's the Spiral mark card. Scar of the Prey, That's the hunt mark card. This is a pound of flesh, which is a flesh mark card. Manipulated, which is a web mark card. An endless fall, which is a vast mark card. A taste of death, which is an eye mark card, an end mark card. That was my bad. A murderous song, which is a slaughter mark card. And between a rock and a hard place, a buried mark card. This one I actually want to change because I don't think it's a very good one, but it is what it is right now. I didn't have a great idea for what a mark card for the buried would be. And then the rotting touch, which is a corruption mark card. And so that's all the mark cards, and those will be in every single deck, aside from it might be in every single deck, I'm not sure, but if you already have that mark, then you can trade in a mark card for a certain amount of points. I'll figure that out as well. And then I only have one. I made fear spread cards, which allow you to spread a certain amount of fear among the area that your avatar is in. And this one for the hunt is Werewolf on the Loose. This one for the eye is Stalkers. And then this is a library / archive card, and I think there's 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, they have each different art on them, but yeah. Oh, and then there's the Panopticon. I'm not an artist again, but yeah. The Watcher's Eyes. The Fog Comes In. That's a fear spread card for the lonely. The Endless Fog. That's a required card for the ritual. Then there's the Stranger's fear spread card, which is the Clown Uprising. This is the Corpse du Ballet, and I'm not sure what art to put there. The Slaughter, a Mad Butcher, which is the fear spread card. Crescendo, that's a required card for the ritual. Addiction Run Wild, that's a web fear spread card. The Vast's fear spread card is Do I Matter? Great Sickness is the fear spread card of the corruption. This is the Sporing Shroom. This is the card design I decided to go with. I'm not sure if it probably won't be the final card design. I just didn't know what else to do. The Hive, I chose a different style for that as well. Oh yeah, and in this corner you can see that it's an avatar. It's an avatar card. Plague Infected Scalpel. Financial Crisis. That's a berry or that's a buried fear spread card. I did not write that one. This is the Coffin. A dark day. That's the fear spread card of the dark. The Solar Eclipse. Not a great art, but it's whatever. The Dark Star. That's the icon for it. But bigger. And then there's the 3 locations that the Dark's ritual can be at. These ones aren't labeled location because they're going to be in the deck, and you will need to find that card. You'll need to find one of the cards. So there's Niall Sund, there's Cape Chelyuskin, and there's Point Barrow. So each of these is on the map, and they have unique shapes so that you can tell. But yeah. What the gem? Oh, okay. The fear spread card of the Desolation is a conflagration. Then there's the Torturing Flame. Here's the Fear Spread card of the Spiral, and it is Widespread Insanity. This is the Fractal Pot, and then I already showed you guys the locations, I believe, or I talked about them. So that is all the cards that I have made, but I'm hoping to make some wild Fear Spread cards, and then I'll probably make Fear Spread cards for specific areas, so that I'll figure it out. But I'm very happy with what I have currently, and I hope to. Oh, and I recently wrote a lot of like stuff for combat and doing Furies. It's going to be played with, I think the combat is going to be played with D6s, and the hunt will get 2 dice, because the hunt, the hunt's a little bit special. But the higher roll, a higher roll means the enemy token is replaced. The lower roll, if you get a lower roll than your opponent, then nothing happens. But if you get a neutral, or if you get an even roll, then the enemy is changed to neutral. So this is if you are trying to change a lonely Fury to become a hunt Fury. If that was, or not hunt, a flesh Fury. If that was the case, then and the flesh was attacking the lonely's person, the flesh would have the advantage because they are the ones attacking. But there's no way that you can lose. You just can't. You cannot gain something. That's what losing would be. And then I wrote maybe 2 points for every new Fury and 1 point for removing an enemy token. And then I wrote, to create Fury from neutral, roll dice. 1 to 2 equals failure, unless you have a majority, which means if you're in an area that you are dominant in, then a 1 is a failure. Oh, what this meant is if there's a person on the map. Okay, 1 second. So this is what the people on the map are currently, if they don't have an assigned fear. So that's what it meant by neutral fear, neutral. Yeah. And then I said hunt gets 2 die versus enemies in combat. Same rules for fear spread. So they still only get 1 dice for fear spread, but for actual like combat, they get 2. Cards ignore rolls as they have specific rolls. Cards. Oh yeah. So certain fear spread cards are going to have you roll a certain amount of or a certain dice, and that'll tell you how many Furies that you get. Combat can only occur if avatars are in the same area, but that doesn't mean, it means avatar combat. And then I also wrote, if an avatar is attacked and lost, the avatar is stunned. And then NPC or non-player avatars can be destroyed via a card or via 3 combats lost. And I'll figure out some way to make that. But also this video is quite long, but I just wanted to share all this, and I just wanted to share this, and this is my 1 month update. If you have any like suggestions or ideas, put them in the comments, and I will read the comments and I'll keep them in mind. And if you want to know more, just comment and I will let you know. I will let you know more. And maybe I will go through like everything I wrote in my little notebook in another video, if probably not like within the next week or so, because I'm busy with my jobs and with college, but I'm having fun with this, and please leave stuff in the comments to like help me out with this. If you know how to, if you've ever made a game, or if you're like a fanatic of the Magnus Archives, anything at all would be great and helpful, and I would appreciate a lot. Thank you very much. Game on.